what we want to do now is to answer that reason that a lot of you have come here, is how do I then take this canon of knowledge and all these scientific studies and make sense out of it for myself as an educator, but also so that I can now teach students how to understand some of these things. And that's what this afternoon is going to be about. So with greenhouse gas tag, the goal of this exercise is to communicate to students that greenhouse gases are trapping radiation that is in our atmosphere from the sun, that the greenhouse gases are trapping that radiation, making the planet a little bit warmer. This is a great, very introductory activity. Students should know a little bit about maybe what are the greenhouse gases. So you can list things, different gases that make up the atmosphere, and try to discuss as a class whether or not these are greenhouse gases, describing what that word means. And once we kind of put some definitions down and students understand that, younger students maybe just understand that water vapor, that CO2, that methane, that these are some things that are greenhouse gases, and that things like oxygen and nitrogen are not greenhouse gases. And with older students, we can go more into what makes a gas a greenhouse gas, and you can do some interactive descriptions or use model molecules. You can use the models to describe these molecules and what makes them a greenhouse gas. So once we kind of understand that there are these things that are greenhouse gases, what happens is you create a playing field with a large circle. We use a rope to signify the atmosphere, and then you have something in the center of the circle, a beach ball or a globe or even just a water bottle, and that signifies the Earth. And what happens is that the radiation, solar radiation, comes from the sun, runs and tags the Earth, and then runs back into space. So you can play one round like this, where everyone lines up at a spot that you designate as the sun, and then they run from the sun, touch the Earth, come back out. And you ask them, how hard was this? Was there anything blocking your path? And the students, as solar radiation, say, no, we touch the Earth and come back out into space. Then you introduce the idea that we're now going to have a greenhouse gas, and the greenhouse gas is allowed to tag radiation. However, they can only tag radiation once it's touched the Earth, and this is similar to real life, that solar radiation warms up the Earth, and then that radiation then goes back off into space, and greenhouse gases trap that radiation from escaping the Earth's atmosphere. And so you can either have that student be able to run. You can also have that student, they just have to stay still and they stand in one spot. And so as the radiation runs from the sun, touches the Earth, that greenhouse gas can now tag students as they're trying to escape. And often with just one greenhouse gas, that one greenhouse gas may be able to tag 1, 2, or 3 students. And we can graph these results. We can say with one greenhouse gas, we've trapped 1, 2, or 3 students. In the second round, you ask the students, what are some things that produce greenhouse gases that you've heard of? And so we talk about either natural or human-caused processes that let out greenhouse gases. And we have some cards to prompt these. So students can say, well, driving cars produces greenhouse gases, so we'll add a second greenhouse gas into our atmosphere. And then when the radiation runs in from the sun and touches the Earth, and as they run back out to escape, since there's 2 greenhouse gases, they're inevitably going to catch more solar radiation. And we can play a few rounds adding 3, 4, 5 greenhouse gases, and we can keep track of how much radiation that how many students that they tag. And essentially, the goal of the activity is to communicate the idea that the more greenhouse gases we have in the atmosphere, the more radiation that those greenhouse gases are going to catch, and that is going to increase the temperature of our climate. It's going to change our climate. And so this will lead us into a discussion and more activities around what is a greenhouse gas and the carbon cycle. But this is just a great introduction to how the greenhouse effect works, and then can be debriefed as a class, looking at drawing pictures on the boards or looking at a model.